As consumers, as employees, and as citizens, we often feel a little bit powerless. But we are not. There are things we can do to vote with our dollars, with our time, our attention, and our blood, sweat, and tears to influence policy and to force change. And that is what I'm going to talk about in this episode. I'm Larry Cornett, and this is Invincible Career. So this is issue 615. If you go to newsletter.invinciblecareer.com, voting with your blood, sweat, and tears. And I mentioned the issue of citizenship and power and being a consumer and feeling like maybe there's an opportunity for you to exert power against corporations. But this is also about your career and where you choose to invest the remaining time in your career and to dedicate yourself. Whether you're just beginning or you're at the end, you can choose. And we are living in pretty chaotic and troubling times. I am in the United States, so I'm sure you're aware of what's happened after our presidential election, the things that are happening with this administration, the things that are happening with the billionaires that are exerting their power and influence and control over things they should not. And we wish that this wasn't happening, but it is. And I know a lot of people wish that this could be a localized problem, that maybe it could be constrained within the borders of the United States. But like it or not, it is a big world, and it is a worldwide world where we do have global impact. You know, we are a large economic partner for a lot of countries around the world. And this administration is exerting power in inappropriate ways to influence our allies, to influence our neighbors, and to make people extremely nervous. And I apologize for that. If you are a listener who is outside of the United States, know that almost 75 million of us did not want this. We did not want the outcome we are dealing with now. And I would say that millions more who may have voted for this issue that we are dealing with are probably now regretting those choices. I'm seeing their post on social media. I'm hearing their words, and I'm noticing their silence. In the past, they were quite vocal. They were gleeful. They were happy about what was happening. They were proud of voting for this man. They are pretty quiet. And I think it's because they realize they've been lied to. There is nothing that comes out of the man's mouth that is a truth. And so they are regretting the choice that was made that enabled what is happening right now. No one wants to lose their Social Security that they've spent a lifetime of work contributing to, and now fearing they may not be able to retire. And what are they going to do? You know, this is a career podcast. I'm a career coach. And I know that there's going to come a day when I'm not able to work the way I used to or at all. And a lot of us know that. When you get into your 80s and 90s, you don't want to be working 40 hours a week trying to get by. You've worked hard, you've saved, you put money into retirement, you have Social Security that you've put money into. And now what? You may not be able to receive that. You may not be able to retire. You may not have access to Medicare and medical treatment, healthcare. There are a lot of frightening things that are coming. And so I think even the people who may have voted for this outcome are probably not happy about what they're seeing. And we all may feel a little powerless at times like these. I know I'm witnessing that with our political representatives who are feeling a bit powerless. I'm noticing it with my friends, my loved ones, my neighbors. What can we do? What can we do? And we may feel powerless, but we are not. If we unite, we become quite powerful. 75, 80 million, 90 million people is a force to be reckoned with. What we lack is focus, coordination, something we can believe in, a leader we can lift up and raise as an emblem of what we can do and who we want to be and what we believe in. And a plan. We need a focused and coordinated plan of how to focus all this energy, how to redirect this energy, and to align 70, 80 million people to have massive impact. A coordinated focus of our time, our energy, and our money would have a massive impact on those who think we have no voice. I was posting on Blue Sky today, and I said, what if we all stop going to work? What if we all stop buying goods and services? What if we essentially strike? What if 80 million people on a given Monday say, we're not doing this? We're not working, we're not buying, we're not doing anything. That would be noticed. And I think a lot of us are familiar with that idea, the idea of voting with our dollars. We change our spending habits to favor one business over another. That happens all the time. Boycott one business, stop buying their goods and services, switch to another business. A lot of people are doing that right now in America. A lot of people are stopping giving their business to Target, for example, and shifting to Costco, which is a much more friendly business to their employees and to the rest of us. We also change our spending habits to show that we reject a corporation's policies and try to influence our company's actions. It happens all the time. It's been happening a lot more often with social media because we can educate each other and make each other aware, and we can organize and we can say, hey, this Friday we are not going to go to this company. I remember when people were like, hey, we're going to support the people that are trying to unionize and trying to have bargaining power against Starbucks, the employees. Let's not go to Starbucks. Let's go to other coffee shops and let's take those cups and stand outside Starbucks. Let's bring treats and drinks to those employees who are striking. This kind of stuff happens all the time. But we also live in an online world that is no longer necessarily about the money we spend with a company. We've definitely seen this with the rise of social media, with online media. Sometimes there is no money exchanged at all. You don't pay for a membership. You don't pay to have a subscription. How does that work? Well, that's the case where we are the product, right? We are the product. It's about the time and attention we give to their platforms, their services, their apps. Our data, our behavior, our clicks, it's all harvested to feed their advertising platforms. That's how these big companies like Meta make their money. We don't pay Meta to use Facebook, for example. But that company, that corporation sure does profit in a big way from the time we spend in the Facebook app, on Instagram, Threads. That's how they make their money. So we can vote with our time and attention too. Not just our dollars, not the money we spend. We can starve specific platforms like Facebook and Instagram, Threads, X, by deactivating or deleting our accounts. I deleted my Twitter account last year. I'd been on Twitter since 2007. It was kind of sad, but it had been ruined and destroyed by this new CEO, you know who. Ruined it. It was no longer worth spending time there. And a whole lot of advertisers took notice and they stopped spending ad dollars there. So it hurt them. They've lost money. I think they've lost like 80% of their value since he took over the company. They've lost users. I've paused my accounts on other services and said, hey, I'm not going to be posting here anymore. You can go find me on Blue Sky. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on my own newsletter and podcasts like this podcast. You know where to find me. But I'm not going to give my time and attention to this platform anymore because I don't believe in the policies of this platform, what they allow, the kind of behavior they tolerate, what the CEO believes. And we are allowed to do that. We are allowed to escape something like that. I saw an interesting post about this called kind of the front porch theory. And I'd shared this on Blue Sky, and I think I shared it on LinkedIn too. Got a little bit of hate for it, but you know what? I don't care. I've kind of lost my patience for a lot of people. And they basically said, social media is like your front porch. It's kind of open for people to show up. And if they're friendly people, if they're decent people, if you can have a rational conversation, you sit on the front porch and you have that conversation. But if they're not, there's no way you're going to let them sit on your front porch and scream obscenities at you and threaten you. Be racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic. You're not going to allow it. And like anytime you have trash on your porch, you sweep it off. You don't leave it on your porch. We're allowed to do that. We are allowed to do that because we do this in our normal lives, in our IRL, real lives. We don't force ourselves to spend time with people who verbally abuse us or physically abuse us. We remove ourselves from the situation. They're no longer our friends. We no longer are acquaintances with them. We will not spend time with them. And we have the same right with social media. So if you don't like what a platform's doing, you don't like their policies, you don't like the CEO, you are allowed to leave. You are not creating an echo chamber. Believe me. I live in a world where I am a minority in my beliefs, where I live. So I sure as heck don't want to replicate that online too, because that is a very lonely way to live. I've been so thankful that I've been able to find other communities and platforms that represent the values that I believe in. So you can do that. You can feed other platforms with your time and attention that are aligned with your belief system, with your values. Like I said, I spend time on Blue Sky, LinkedIn, which is kind of a mixed bag. And I also have created my own communities. And so that is where I will dedicate something that is so precious. And I've talked about this a million times. The one resource you cannot create more of is time. You only have so much time left in your life. Why would you waste that precious time putting up with mistreatment? You don't need to. You don't need to. I think we often forget, especially if you're younger, social media didn't always exist. I grew up, I was a kid in the 80s. We didn't have the internet. We certainly didn't have social media. And you know what? It was pretty good. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of friends. And I'm not a Luddite, as one person attacked me and said. I worked in tech for 20 years. I have always been an early adopter. I've always been kind of a scientific geek. I use cutting edge technology all the time. And so I know there's good that can be discovered on social media and the internet, of course. But you can curate that. You can control that. You can carefully manage where you spend your time, who you connect with, and what you see so that you get the most value out of it and the least damage from it. We don't need that. We have enough stuff we're dealing with in real life. We don't need that at all. But the reality is with corporations, let's be honest. And I don't care if you disagree with me. I'm too old, worked in too many companies, been in too many boardroom discussions. There's only one thing they care about, and that is money. They want to dominate the market. They want to make as much money as possible. They want to put as much money as possible into the executives' pockets and the shareholders' pockets, the board. It's all about money. You have to recognize it. You have to accept it. They are not altruistic. They will not do good things out of the good of their heart because corporations are not human beings. No matter how much they pretend, no matter how many vision statements and mission statements they publish on their sites, I think we've all seen the truth. You are seeing it right now. We are seeing it in American corporations right now. A lot of them are showing their true colors. And some are stepping up. Some are stepping up. It's pretty impressive. But the reality is money talks. Money talks. And so when a company loses enough advertising revenue, when they lose enough sales, when customers leave, they have attrition, they take notice. And so they will make changes based on that. Not because they care, but because they don't want to lose money. So if you hurt them, if you take away your dollars, you take away your time and attention, enough of us do it if we're coordinated. If 75 to 80 million of us do this, boy, oh boy, they may decide to change their policies. They may change their actions before it's too late, and they lose everything. And they can. It is possible. Some companies have not responded quickly enough, and they lost everything. And people moved to a competitor that was more welcoming. And we have the power to make that happen. We have that power if we are willing to redistribute our time and attention. We get to decide how we spend our money, our time, and attention. We get to intentionally choose the companies that we feel are aligned with our values. And when they're not, find a competitor that is. And there are a lot of lists floating around on the internet right now. If you shop here and you're frustrated, transfer your attention here. So go from Target to Costco. There are a lot of ways that you can spend your money with companies that are aligned with your values. But there is, as I alluded to earlier, another way to live your values and influence policy that we just don't talk about that often. And that is where you work. Your employer. You can also vote with your blood, sweat, and tears. Our jobs are where we spend a significant portion of our adult lives. We don't have universal basic income yet. Maybe some countries do. We sure don't in America. You got to work. You have to work to live. And it is a significant part of our lives. For some people, it's 8 hours of the day. And so if you are working 8 hours and you're awake for 8 hours and you're sleeping for 8 hours, wow. That is a third of your life spent dedicated to this job. Because we need to cover our bills. We have to buy groceries that are constantly going up. Inflation has hit us hard. We have to pay for housing. You may have rent, you may have a mortgage. But work is already hard enough without being completely miserable while we are doing it. Yeah, work is work, a job is a job, but you shouldn't hate your working life. And working for an employer that doesn't align with your values adds another layer of pain to the misery. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I've talked with people who suffer with that and then finally just can't do it anymore. So you can be selective about choosing an employer, and I recognize that is certainly a privilege. Being able to decide who you want to work for is a privilege that not everyone can enjoy. If you live in a small community with very few employers and no options for remote work, online work, that's not what you do for your job, you're kind of stuck. You are stuck with very few choices. I grew up in a tiny farm town like that, really small. About 1,200 people. As I mentioned, the online world didn't exist yet. There was no internet. And there were very few local employers, right? The grocery store, or you did farm work. You basically took any job you could find. Looking for an employer you would like to work for was a privilege that we couldn't enjoy. It was a luxury we did not have. And that is still the case for some people. I recognize that. However, those of you who do have more options for your career path, you can use this opportunity to research and to plan and to select employment that aligns with your values, supports your belief system, positions you for the future, gives you more flexibility, gives you resilience to things that are happening in the local economy, the country's economy, the global economy, to make sure you can survive. I've talked about this before, about removing vulnerabilities from your career so that you don't feel stuck, you don't feel trapped, you don't feel like you're in danger of 6 months away from losing your home, because if you lose your job, what are you going to do? And so I want to talk about how important that is. I want to talk about values. You know, you have certain values that are important to you. I talked about this recently with Sarah Jontosh, that was on my podcast about a month ago or so. And she talks about a values-based career. So you may have values like, let's say, respect. Respect is important to you. And you believe that employees should be treated with respect, treat each other with respect. And that is important to you. You want an employer who does that. And believe me, not all employers do. Maybe you believe in dignity and in believing that customers shouldn't be used and abused. I've been in companies where we talked really well and highly of our customers and really wanted to treat them well. We treated them with dignity and realized we wouldn't exist without them. We would have no revenue without these customers. I've been in other meetings with other companies where they talked about the customers as idiots, people they could trick to click ads, and people they could use. They didn't really care. And which employer do you want to work for? Compassion can be an important value for you. It's like, shouldn't we show compassion for each other, for our customers, and for people? You know, for example, if we're going to lay people off, can't we treat them with compassion instead of treating them like criminals? Is this the kind of company that cares and values the contribution of an employee even if they have to be let go? Or is it the kind of company that marches them out with a security guard, treating them like a criminal? Doesn't give them any warning. shuts off their systems and just tells them, oh yeah, you're fired. Loyalty. Loyalty. I've talked about this. People make the mistake of being loyal to their employer. And probably a very minute fraction of employers are loyal back to their employees. Right. And one of the questions might be, how do I find out about this? And I hear this all the time. And people will look at the company's online statements about their values. They'll post, here's our top 10 values. Here's our mission. We really believe in all this stuff. Customer comes first. We love our employees. Don't believe any of it. Hey, it may be true, but I can tell you a lot of employers who have those statements said it's definitely not true. One of the things you can do is talk with the internal employees. So you could find people who currently work at the company. It's easy to find on LinkedIn. And you could reach out and say, hey, I'm interested in working for this company. I have an interview coming up, whatever it might be. I want to find out more about their value system, how they treat people, how they treat their customers, their employees. Some employees will talk with you, and some will be too nervous to be honest. They are afraid that it might get back to their management team, and so they won't necessarily tell you the truth. That's why I always tell people, look for the past employees. And you can do that. You can search for people on LinkedIn who used to work at that company. You are much more likely to get the truth from an ex-employee. And if you talk to enough, you'll get kind of a triangulated set of data instead of, oh, I talked to one person that was really, really angry and just had nothing good to say. And, but if you're hearing 10 people have really bad things to say, okay, maybe there's a problem. If it's one person and the other 9 people are like, actually, it was a great company. They treated me really well. Talk to people who used to work there. That is how you will discover what the real values are of the company, what the management team is like, what their values are, how they treat people. Not just what they say, but what they actually do, their behavior. And I always recommend that. Find out everything you can about the company and about the management team. Talk to past employees. The other thing is to make sure that a company and its products or services is aligned with your beliefs, which is a little bit different than values. For example, you may have a belief that, crazy to say this, killing is bad, right? Killing people is bad. And so maybe you don't want to work in an industry that's in conflict with that belief. Maybe you don't want to work for any company that is in the weapons manufacturing business. You're like, how could somebody do that? How is that even possible? I know somebody who did. I know somebody who worked on guidance systems for missiles and eventually said, I can't do this anymore. I know what is happening with these when they leave here. I can't sleep at night. This does not align with my belief system. I turned down an interview with a company that was a company that provided online gambling. And hey, if you want to gamble and have fun, fine. I've gambled before. I've gone to Vegas. It's really not my thing. And I've also seen it destroy lives. So I know that gambling can easily turn into an addiction. I don't think it does much good for the world. What is gambling? I mean, there are other ways to entertain yourself, please. I think most people have a really negative outcome from gambling. Very few people win, right? That's just not how it works. If you go to Vegas and you see all those casinos, how were they built? Because everybody's winning? Give me a break. So I turned down that interview because I didn't believe in gambling or working for a company that provided gambling to people. You could have a belief that discrimination is bad. It's bad to discriminate against people based on what they look like or what their religion is or where they come from. I think a lot of us would believe that. Unfortunately, quite a few of us don't believe that. And I've been kind of shocked and dismayed and sad over the last few weeks. But if you believe, for example, that discrimination is bad, you may not want to work for a specific employer that's in conflict with that. And We've got a huge list of companies that are abandoning DEI, for example. And I'll say it on the podcast. I've seen it online. I've said it online. DEI is not affirmative action. It's about removing barriers, not lowering the bar. And the people who are saying that it's all about lowering the bar, unfortunately, are probably people who are racist and sexist. And if you want to unsubscribe from the podcast or my newsletter or unfollow me because you think it's okay to be racist and sexist and you're upset that I said that, that's okay. I posted this too. I don't need people like that in my life. I don't want to do business with people like that. I don't want to write articles and help people like that. You can leave. It's pretty easy to abandon me. Goodbye. And I've seen this. I've seen this multiple times. Recently, a woman posted some research she had done. She created 2 profiles on LinkedIn. She's a person of color. One was with her real name and her real photo, and it had everything in her profile, her background, her education, her experience, everything, skills. She created an identical profile. Identical. The only thing that was different, she used a name and used a photo that made it look like she's white. And then she started tracking the data. How many recruiters were reaching out to her, how many people were scheduling interviews. It's pretty disheartening. So she was getting a lot more contact and a lot more opportunities and a lot more interviews when she appeared to be a white woman. I mean, come on, folks. That's what DEI is about. People should not be precluded from interviewing for a job simply because of what they look like. And so there are companies that no longer believe in that. They're trying to curry favor with this new administration. They're afraid, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they've always believed this and now they feel free to do it. But yeah, there's a lot of companies that are like, hey, we're firing all the people that worked in DEI at our company. We're getting rid of these DEI programs. Target was one that announced it. There's a bunch of others. And it's like, okay, I don't have to work for a company like that. I can choose to work for a company that is standing up for DEI. A company like Costco or a company like Apple. There are a bunch that are saying, yeah, we're not going to stop doing this. And you can't tell us what to do. So I had mentioned positioning for the future. You can make an explicit choice to work for an employer that is going to help you be ready for what's coming, right? You could work for an employer that is a little backwards or stagnant, and now you're stuck and you're not gaining new skills, you're not acquiring new knowledge and experience, and pretty quickly you're going to be irrelevant. Or you can work for a company that knows they have to keep up with evolving technology. They understand that automation is coming whether we like it or not, and it has been for a long time. And we can't ignore artificial intelligence. AI is here. It's exploding. So either a company that's embracing AI or resistant to AI. And I've talked about that. I think there are professions and work that we can do that is core to being a messy human being. And AI is not good at replicating what messy human beings do. The empathy, the compassion, the creativity, the stuff that we can do, the things we can roll with and kind of bounce back from. Hey, maybe someday, but it's not there yet. And people have been pretty clear that when they know they're talking to an AI, and this is not everybody, but a lot of people, it makes them feel worse. They think they're talking to a human being, let's say like a therapist, counselor, even customer support. And then it becomes very clear it's AI. And they're like, there's a weird hollow feeling you get. I thought a human cared about me. I thought a human was listening. Discovered it wasn't. And it kind of hurts. And so there are professions like that. There are companies that are hiring for that. And then the final thing is choosing an employer that's going to give you flexibility and resilience, because markets keep changing. Wow. Market dynamics are just pretty chaotic right now. Do we have tariffs? No, we don't have tariffs. Yes, we do. Retaliatory tariffs. Goodness gracious. Tariffs don't work, by the way. It's kind of ridiculous. We learned that lesson a long time ago, but people seem to have forgotten. Anyway, so one is being able to work remotely. There are employers who are abandoning remote work. They're forcing their employees to return to office. They are forcing employees to move to entirely different states if they want to keep their job, which is a fancy way of firing people. They bait and switched. Bait and switch. Yeah, it was a bait and switch. During COVID, they said, you can work remotely. We're going to do this forever. It's actually working. And they had data. Hey, we're productive. People are happy. It's good. Costs are down. And now they want command and control. And even the federal government here said, if you're a federal employee, you're going to have to be in the office 5 days a week. It's like kind of ridiculous. There's a lot of work that people do that can be done remotely. Believe me, I've been working remotely now for, on and off for 15 years, because I left the corporate world 15 years ago. But with my coaching business, it's been over 8 years. I don't have a single local client. I have met very few of my clients. It's been fun. It's been really fun to meet a few people. But I have clients all over the country, all over the world. And so being able to work remotely has given me a lot of flexibility and a lot of resilience. So when the U.S. market's down, I can work with clients in another country. It's kind of nice. Same is true for employers and for jobs. Being able to work from anywhere in the world is powerful. Working for a global corporation that could relocate you. I've talked about this. I had a friend that did this. They worked for a global corporation that had an office here in the U.S. in California. And they said, hey, I'd love to relocate and to get back home and be near my family. And within a year or two, they were relocated by the company. And now they're living near friends and family again. And they're happy. It's fantastic. So that gives you a lot of flexibility, right? You can even work for an employer in another country. So if the U.S. economy, for example, falters and freezes hiring, which there's a lot of that happening, a lot of layoffs, who's to say you can't take a job from an employer in another country? I have clients who are absolutely doing that. They were hired by a startup that is in another country, and they worked remotely for a while, and they relocated, and they're super happy. They're super happy. So it's entirely possible. So I know this went a little long, but I just wanted to give you hope. I know if you're a U.S. citizen, you're probably concerned, you're worried, you're stressed. I know I'm stressed. You're probably feeling a little fearful, some of you. I get that. I totally understand that. And even if you're a global listener, if you're in another country, and I know I have people in Europe and in Australia and in different places in China and Taiwan and places that are listening to me, South America, Central America. Some of my friends are there. I wish this wasn't affecting you, but it is. And I know you're nervous. We are too. But we all have more power than we think. We have a lot more power than you might think that you have to help change what's going on, to change the world, to right wrongs, to influence policies. And I know a lot of you, and if you don't live in the U.S., are using U.S. services. You're using Meta products. You're using Google. You're using Blue Sky. I'm not sure where the headquarters is. Good question. But you're using products that are here. And so it is affecting you. And I'm sorry about that. But we have power to influence what's going on. You can directly vote with your dollars to help influence policy. You choose where you spend your money. What company deserves your purchase? You can vote with your time and attention to help make things change, to make change happen. Stop giving your attention to one social media platform and give it to another. It's not easy. Boy, oh boy, it's not easy. I've had to leave thousands of followers behind and move platforms multiple times. And I've had to create my own communities. Because my time and attention is precious and valuable. I'm not going to give it to a platform that doesn't deserve it. So you can do that. You can vote with your time and attention to help force change. And then finally, because, this is about careers. This is about work. It's about your job. You can vote with your blood, sweat, and tears to reward the right kind of employers with the precious time that's remaining in your career. You deserve that. You deserve that. You deserve to feel good about where you're giving your time and energy. All right. Well, best of luck. Reach out to me. Follow me on Blue Sky. Follow me on Substack. You can follow me on LinkedIn if you want to talk about this. I'm here. I'm here to listen. Take care. Until next time, I wish you the best of luck in becoming an opportunity magnet for the best things in life.